The new arc of Dragon Ball Super has begun, and we see Goku going back to planet Earth to meet Gohan, who has just attained his Gohan Beast transformation form. In the meantime, Goku was on Beerus's planet trying to train Broly in order to control himself so that he can attain his Super Saiyan state with a degree of control. Obviously, we know the lore around the legendary Super Saiyan, which is essentially what Broly has, that they are basically a raging monster. Of course, Goku, Vegeta and Broly are training in preparation for Frieza. Maybe you could add Gohan Beast and Orange Piccolo to that frame now as well. But whilst Goku and Vegeta have made little progress with Broly in terms of controlling his power, and he has improved as per Whis, however he still cannot turn into Super Saiyan reliably or at will quite yet, and I did do a video about that recently on why there's actually quite a lot of history and lore into these characters turning Super Saiyan for the first time and then being able to tap into it at will reliably. Goku struggled, Vegeta struggled, even Gohan struggled. The only characters seemingly who did it with relative ease, and this is only because we don't know the information of how they first turned Super Saiyan fully, was Goten and Trunks. I mean, after all, they were literally born from the loins of Super Saiyans themselves. Goku and Vegeta had already attained Super Saiyan by the time they were conceived. Gohan wasn't. Who knows how powerful Pan and Buller could become. But obviously Gohan has a history of rage out moments. Now, they're not quite the same as Broly's transformation, the legendary Super Saiyan transformation, which we'll get into in just a moment, but he has raged out multiple times throughout the series, obviously leading to new power-ups and new levels of power that surpass even his father at times. Obviously, Super Saiyan is a state that is based on anger. The impetus to become a Super Saiyan is controlled anger. Chapter 101 really went thoroughly through this, with Vegeta telling Broly that anger is a Saiyan's power, but you need to be able to control it. Gohan, whilst losing himself in moments, has constantly found ways to find control in those moments, none more so prominent than against Super Perfect Cell, when he ascended the Super Saiyan state and attained Super Saiyan 2 before even Goku and Vegeta, because he was able to rage out at the death of Android 16, one of the greatest moments in Dragon Ball history by the way, and control himself and become Super Saiyan 2. Whooping 7 Cell Juniors and Perfect Cell himself. So of course, Goku and Vegeta are martial arts masters, far surpassing that in terms of warrior status of Gohan, despite his half-breed power that surpasses even a regular Saiyan, maybe not a legendary Saiyan, but a regular Saiyan. But is there anyone better who has these rage out moments, who completely go beyond their natural power level to unprecedented power levels and then control that power like Gohan does? I don't think there is. So what if Goku does actually go back to Earth and he's seeing Gohan as the right candidate to train Broly in order to control his legendary Super Saiyan state? After all, it was stated in the Tournament of Power that if the legendary Super Saiyan keeps being allowed to rage out of control, they do eventually self-explode. So obviously there is a motivation there to perhaps save Broly, and obviously if Broly rages out and goes completely berserk, he could destroy quite a lot of things and potentially destroy the universe. And given that Broly's nature is actually quite a kind, humble being, Goku probably understands that Broly isn't intending to do that, so looking to stop that from happening, or falling into the control of maybe a Black Frieza who could use a device to control Broly, as we've seen in the past, and as well as the Dragon Ball Z Legendary Super Saiyan Broly movie. But there's another movie that Broly was in, well there's two others, but we won't talk about the last one. There is another movie that Broly was in called Broly Second Coming. Now this was actually a good movie. It didn't have Goku in it, even though he did appear in spirit, I guess you could say, in the family Kamehameha. Broly returns and fights against Super Saiyan 2 Gohan at the time. Obviously Gohan is just entered his teen state in the movies. Obviously this is in line with placements of Dragon Ball Z, even though they're two separate continuities, two separate dimensions. Gohan with his Super Saiyan 2 state still cannot beat a newly powered up legendary Super Saiyan Broly. Broly has gotten stronger and eventually resorts to a family Kamehameha, which basically destroys Broly. Now, I don't think Broly's going to get destroyed. I think the story and his character direction has changed. But what I present to you and what I offer to you is, what if Goku does bring Gohan to train Broly and help him control his rage, but whilst training, Broly does rage out of control? Now, something I just want to get into before I have a little theory on how they could introduce story elements from Second Coming into the Dragon Ball Super continuity. Just want to talk about whether Broly has retained his rage boosts, because Gohan has demonstrated in the past that he may not have. I think one very interesting thing about Gohan potentially training Broly is the reveal of, has Broly retained the rage boosts in power that he gained in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie? Because obviously if Broly cannot maintain the power he had in the Broly movie, then it has major implications for what we saw in the Moro arc and the Granola arc, especially with the race to become the strongest in the universe and the Wish and Whis' comments regarding Goku and Vegeta in that particular arc. Now, there is precedence for this and writing pretext that ultimately can show this. Gohan, whilst raging out against Raditz, reached a power level of 1300 for one attack when he heard the screams of his dad against Raditz. He damaged Raditz quite badly in that fight, more than Goku and Piccolo could until the special beam cannon at the end. But Gohan didn't retain that power immediately. Upon training with Piccolo, he was nowhere near a power level of 1300, even arriving at the arrival of the Saiyans, having a power level of 981, so it clearly dipped from that initial rage boost. He didn't retain that power just from raging out, even despite then training with Piccolo on martial arts. Of course, he used the Masenko in that arc and his power level raised to 2100, but that was because it was a technique that amped power, and even then when he got to Namek, he was still only at a power level of 1500, so he didn't retain that power either. Obviously, you can then go forward to the Cell games in which he completely raged out against Cell and got control of his power, and that's why he probably is a good candidate to teach Broly. Did he retain that power after the Cell games? It's hard to really dissect because there was a 7-year gap in time, and obviously he forsook his training, so that could be a major part of it as well. But it's quite possible that he just simply didn't quite fully retain all that power from anger that he got alongside his new Super Saiyan 2 transformation. So the question is, has Broly retained the rage boosts in power and potential Zenkais that he would have got through the Broly movie? I think it's probably a bit of a mix. I think he would have got a Zenkai, but he may not have retained the rage boosts. He likely can't turn Super Saiyan reliably, so it isn't being taken into account as a warrior. He's just really a berserker, as stated in the jump guides. So he's a hard character to pin down at the moment in terms of his actual power. Had he already used up all of his Zenkais in training with Bart? I think that's unlikely, but it's possible. Given the pretext, you don't necessarily retain your rage boosts in power, so he has retained all the rage. Can he get into his Akari form? He can't get into Super Saiyan reliably. There's just so much that we need to know, and I think it's exciting to find that information out. As far as I'm concerned, currently in this arc, if Broly hypothetically lost control and went full power, he is stated to be the strongest. The only one that couldn't defeat complete Cell Max is Broly, as stated by Toriyama in the movie timeline, so that gives us an indication of how Toriyama sees it. But Gohan Beast did defeat a incomplete Cell Max who was too strong for Orange Piccolo, who is said to be on par with Goku and Vegeta. So, whilst Broly cannot tap into Super Saiyan reliably or at will, you could argue that Gohan Beast is the stronger warrior right now and should be able to deal with Broly's power, unless he completely snaps. If he does snap again, he will likely be far stronger than what he was in the Broly movie, and I know there's those that think that Broly movie Broly is still the strongest Saiyan we've seen so far, and that it's been a slow power creep leading up to that point. Regardless of where you are on that spectrum, Gohan Beast shouldn't be too far away from that power, even if you do believe in that theory. And guys, I'm not here to argue about that theory right now. I'm just saying, if Gohan is left to train with Broly, maybe they leave him on Beerus' planet. Obviously, they're all in preparation for an impending arrival of Black Frieza. What if Vegeta goes and trains with Piccolo somewhere? I think that would be interesting, because obviously at the end of Second Coming, we actually see Piccolo and Vegeta sitting next to each other. Neither of them got involved in the battle against the Legendary Super Saiyan in Second Coming, so they could easily play on that and say that they've been training together. Obviously, Orange Piccolo should now be at the levels of raw power reserves of Ultra Ego Vegeta, and he would be a good opponent in training to, help Vegeta overcome his barriers and ceilings and maybe break his limits even further. So I think that would be interesting, and I'll get back to that in just a moment, because I think that would be important into what I'm about to say as well. Maybe Goku could go off to Zeno's world for some sort of meeting, or go into maybe Whis' staff to train with Beerus in preparation for Frieza, and Gohan and Broly could be just left to it, and for some reason or another Broly will snap and maybe start beating Gohan up, because obviously Broly, the Legendary Super Saiyan, if he snaps now, hypothetically should be stronger than Gohan based on the information we've got so far. Obviously Gohan would then have to find a way to knock Broly out of that state, because that's essentially what you have to do with the Legendary Super Saiyans. As we saw with Kale, they have to be knocked out of that state so that they stop rampaging. Maybe because of their ease of how they controlled Super Saiyan in the first place, Goten and Trunks could be brought into help situation, and we'll get the similar situation to what we saw in Second Coming of Goten and Trunks and Gohan versus Broly rampaging out. Now, obviously, I know a lot of people say we don't need to see this, we've seen it before, but whilst Broly has been made canon to the Dragon Ball Super storyline, and the movie was changed and it was repackaged and there were certain changes to make it more palatable, it does still follow a lot of the narrative points that were in the original movie, is that the Legendary Super Saiyan is the strongest Super Saiyan. Once they rage out, they're pretty much unstoppable, and that a group of characters have to work together in order to stop that Legendary Super Saiyan. With Broly's story moving forward, I'm sure there'll be new original content and new original narratives brought in around Broly, but here's an easy way for them just to shoehorn in maybe some of Broly's story from the original movies, because he is a very popular character from the movies before. I was never a massive DBZ Broly fan, but I think the way forward for a DBS Broly is actually quite exciting due to the positive changes I feel they made to him in his base form. I would like to see a return of the Legendary Super Saiyan Broly from the Dragon Ball Z movies. I think when Broly turned Super Saiyan in those movies, he was more of a Chad than the, I guess you could call, special kid that we saw against Gogeta. Now guys, I really wouldn't mind just a few summative chapters in the Dragon Ball Super new arc to begin with, just to give us an idea of where all these characters are at, give us some lore information, especially on what Gohan Beast is, what Orange Piccolo is. Can Broly ever control his Legendary Super Saiyan? Will he get a new form? Will any of them get trained in God Ki? How does Ultra Ego fare against Ultra Instinct? More interactions between Goku and Beerus in terms of their power and where he lies in relevance to Beerus's full power. Maybe some training sessions over maybe 6 chapters between all these characters would be quite exciting. Seeing Piccolo use his orange form against Ultra Ego Vegeta would be fun. Seeing Gohan vs Broly would be fun. And obviously, I think we all want to see Beerus fight against Goku, just to see where Goku currently stands. Obviously, we know he's not as strong yet as per chapter 101, but a training match I think would be pretty awesome. Now, it doesn't have to be these suggestions I've just made, but it could be a bit of a mix. But I think that would be pretty cool, and I think it would get the fandom excited, especially after Akio Yoku is trying to stir up the fandom in 2024 for the next 10 years. I think this would be very interesting. It doesn't need to delve deeply into the story, but it gives us some new information and content based around these characters, and we would be all for it, I think, due to seeing them test out their newfound powers against each other. And guys, here's just another thing and how I would end it. Once they've all finished their training sessions, they all come together, Black Frieza arrives and kills the cat. I think that would be one hell of a start to the new arc. You know what, I've actually got excited about my own idea. Toyotaro, give me a call. Anyway guys, drop a like on the video if you think that's quite a cool concept and idea, and that's how they can go forward. Drop a like on the video if you would like to see Gohan attempt to train Broly in rage, in dealing with his rage in the new arc, and hopefully we get to see some more information about what exactly Gohan Beast is. A few theory videos lately. I'll start moving back into some power scaling videos. In the meantime, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Make sure all notifications are clicked on. There are hackers out there, Beerus deniers, who are trying to take my channel down. Each new like, each new subscribe is a tier of the Beerus deniers. So please go ahead and support the channel. You have my appreciation. Until next time, Ad Astra.